Okay, my friends, here it is. Saturday morning live stream. Hey, check that out. Huh? What do you think? Hung up the silver star, or the silver plaque button. Yes. So, thanks to you guys, we're 100,000 strong now, and growing all the time, which is great. Because, guys, this is just the beginning. So, okay. Here we are at the Saturday morning live stream, Garden Like a Viking headquarters, currently in northern Indiana, zone 5B, 6A. We don't really know anymore. The zones are kind of changing all the time and stuff, so it just doesn't really matter. We have to focus on building resilience. That's what matters more than anything else. So, guys, let me know where you are at. Boy, you've been having some conversations already. Good to see everybody. Guys, I go through and read the comments, sometimes after these live streams and stuff, and I'll skim through stuff, see what I missed and all that. And I noticed that you guys really are really respectful of each other in the comments, which is fantastic. Because you go to some channels and stuff, and the people are real quarrelsome, but these people here, this group is really great. And so I appreciate that. And, you guys got lots of experience, and we're all about sharing experience-based knowledge. We're not just about, well, I think I read somewhere one time someone told me that their grandmother's cousin used to do this and that, and then we state it like it's fact. No. If that's the case, that's fine. But you say, well, I heard, I don't know for sure, but I heard this or that. But if you have experience, then you can say, well, this is what happened. This is how it happened for me. So, yes, Are You Prepping says modern day Vikings are good people. Yes, this is very true. And what do we mean by modern day Vikings, guys? It's the spirit of the Vikings. Because I've gotten lots of comments in some of the other videos, in particular showing like my grow tent downstairs, where I have a seed starting masterclass video. If you guys want to know everything that you need to know, seriously, about starting seeds, then check out my video titled Seed Starting Masterclass, and I show you the 5 things that plants need. Yes? Light, water, air, nutrients, and it all has to happen at the right temperature. And then I show you how to manipulate those 5 things indoors. So I show my grow tent, and I made shorts about it and stuff, some on Instagram and some on YouTube and stuff. And people are like, yeah, that's exactly how the Vikings did it with their big petroleum-based grow tent with Mylar and clown. Things like that. And so they're totally missing the point, guys. The Vikings would have utilized whatever the latest cutting edge technology was that was available to them to achieve their goals and their mission. And that's exactly what we do. So we are harnessing the power, the spirit of the Viking like that. And we will utilize the technology that is available to us to accomplish the goals. And that is to grow nutrient dense food in ways that nourish the land instead of deplete the land. This is our mission. This is what we do. And we regenerate the land, even though that term's sort of overused now. But we just feed the soil, guys. And so that's what we do. And let's see. What are you guys up to? Let me know where you're at. Hello, Naturally by Darla says, finally made it. Are you prepping? Hello, Creative Soil. Hello, my friend. Thank you. Stone Mason says, I got the microbes mulch by the power company. Okay, good. You got some mulch left by the power company. Good. Good to see you here as well, Creative Soil. I appreciate your energetic contributions to the channel across all the different channels. Guys, I have another channel called Thrive Like a Viking, where we talk about things like mindset and spiritual fortitude, things like this. Resilience, emotional and spiritual resilience, things like that. And also the power of the subconscious mind and anti-fragility training, basically through cold training and heat exposure, all that stuff. It all comes together, so growing your food is just where everything starts. That's where it starts. And so that's what this channel is about. Alexander 50 or 500, what was it again? Serbian, is that right? Serbian dinar, is that what it is? But thank you very much for the tip, my friend. First tip of the day. Says, hi Nate, I've had a problem this year with tomato flowers dropping. Temperatures were over 95 for days. Yeah, is it then necessary to make some kind of shade with fabric? Yeah, so when the tomatoes are in the blazing hot, they just kind of shut down. They just kind of they go into survival mode. And so they're not going to, if they're in blazing sun and it's hot, then they are going to not focus on really reproduction and fruiting. They're going to focus more on just surviving. And to do that, they're going to not expend a ton of energy on flowering. But what you want to make sure about, what's really important is that you make sure that they have a cool root zone. This is important, guys. So if the air temperature is 95, gotta adjust this. If the air temperature is 95, that's one thing. But if the root zone is cool, kept cool and evenly moist, especially of tomatoes, then that's going to really make a big difference. So if they're in raised beds or something, and the raised beds are just getting baked down by the sun, then the root zone is going to be hot. And no plants like hot root zone, guys. When I do consultations with people and I've been to their gardens and stuff, and I look at things, and so many of them that have issues, they're totally unaware that it's a problem with the root zone. And typically, especially in hotter places like Serbia, probably is, then the hot root zone is going to make a huge difference. And so if we can keep it cool, then they can tolerate pretty hot temperatures in the air temperature. But yes, I would put a shade cloth. I would get some kind of a shade cloth over that. Wow, guys, man, again, chamomile, here's the tea this week. Chamomile that I've harvested, shout out to Ursula, thank you very much. Harvested chamomile, we got a bunch of it actually, this is just part of it. But chamomile, lavender, flowers, and jasmine. Now I didn't grow the jasmine flowers because we don't grow jasmine here. But other than that, so you put equal parts basically together and steep it for 10 minutes or so with some local raw honey. Oh my goodness, guys. It is literally like liquid candy, except super good for you instead of being actual candy. Super good for the immune system, super good for the mind, super good for the mood, super good for everything and everyone. So let's see. That guy Chris says, yeah, don't grow cucumbers in buckets. Like silly me. They suffered the entire year and lost 75% of fruit to weirdness. Hot root zone is bad. Yes, and you nailed it right there. Is the people growing in buckets and stuff like that, it's typically the hot root zone. If you're growing in buckets, guys, really you need to have either the bottom of the bucket open to the ground and then the bucket sort of shaded so that the roots can grow down into the ground, or you need to have the whole system on like a drip irrigation, almost like an aeroponic, in a way. You need to have it so that it's like constantly, maybe several times a day or something, just getting a liquid nutritive feed. So 5-gallon buckets are not ideal to grow in unless you have to. Unless for some reason you have just concrete, you're in the city or something, then go ahead, of course. And you'll still have good success, but you'll never have the kind of success that you have in the ground. The plants love the earth and the energy of the earth. They need that. They need to be grounded like that. Let's see. There was a donation up here. Paul the Thing. 5 sterling pounds. Thank you very much, my friend. Says a well-deserved YouTube play button on the wall behind you. Keep feeding us the knowledge. Yes, that is for sure, my friend. That will keep happening because this is what we do now. So yes, you can all see it, right? I'm sure you can see exactly what I'm seeing on the camera. So it's like that spot was made for it. Now I'm the kind of person that I don't measure stuff, like if you see my garden and stuff, that I'm not about like clean measured lines and stuff like that. So I just eyeball everything, but I'm pretty accurate. So I think it's pretty evenly spaced. There might be a little bit of an illusion here. I think it's evenly spaced, but it's definitely level. So anyways, Scarecrow Valley says, hello, my friends. Nate, my man. Hello, Scarecrow Valley. Kim says, I can't see the YouTube button. What? Oh, maybe you are viewing it vertically on your phone. Is that right? Are You Prepping says, yes, congratulations, Nate. So well deserved. Thank you very much, my friend. And guys, I got all kinds of stuff to show you today as well. So we'll probably get to all of that. But I wanted to read, what is the, would you compost, okay, William, I can't find it. Would you compost peanut hulls before using, or would you use as mulch? Now, I don't have a lot of experience with the peanut hulls, but I would use, well, you could do either way. I don't know what the advantage of, I don't have enough experience to say, but I would think that just like another high carbon source that you would use them to, you're talking about the shell, right? So you could probably use it as a mulch. You'd have to have a lot of it, but for the most part, probably just throw it in the compost pile. That's what I would say. Queen RB says, late but here now, Southern Oregon. Thank you, Nate, for all you do. Yes, you're welcome. Queen RB says, darn, I missed the tea ingredients. Homegrown chamomile, homegrown lavender, and imported, purchased organic jasmine flowers, because we don't grow jasmine flowers here, but it adds such a nice, just an ethereal sort of mountain spring, but cool summer night. It's just incredible. So let's see here. That guy Chris says, question, why are my sunflowers making empty seeds? Giant gray variety with large formed shells, but half are seedless. They were covered by pollinators through entire bloom. Well, then I'm not sure, because they should, I would say pollination, incomplete pollination would be really the only thing I could even think of, unless there was some kind of nutrient deficiency. So the, let me see here. Val, this is the one I wanted to see. So Val said, okay, hey Nate, what kind of cover crop should we use in our raised bed for winter in zones 7A and B? Okay, so guys, it's approaching cover crop time. So you will need to decide, do I want to fertility add or cover crop? And if you've watched my other videos, is this microphone blowing out? Is it too intense? So if you have watched my other videos, then the ones I made last year about cover cropping, okay, good, thank you. Then you will know that there's two ways of doing it, and that is either cover cropping or fertility adding. Now, they're not the same thing, because remember, the only thing that can build soil is a living root in the ground. Soil building is exclusive to plants, and it is a plant-driven process whereby carbon is captured from the atmosphere and pumped into the earth, where it remains in all different kinds of forms. Carbon is super, super useful. And so that's what the plant does. And some of it is in the form of sugars, exudates. And that is feeding the soil microbiology all winter long. So long as you have a living root in the ground, you are nourishing and nurturing the microorganisms in the soil. And this is the primary benefit of the cover crop, okay? Whereas if you add fertility, if you're adding manures and stuff like that, which is still wonderful, you are not actually building soil because there's no living root in the ground. So you are just adding fertility, which is still great, but it's not the same. So it's good to alternate. It's good to alternate. 1 year, add a bunch of fertility in the ground, or on top of the ground, and then the next year cover crop, and then the next year fertility add, like that. And so you're going to have all your bases covered. Now there's a third one that I didn't discuss yet, and that is green manuring. But that I don't recommend for everyone. That's only in certain circumstances, and but green manuring is where you grow the cover crop and then you till it all in and then you plant. All right. But that's only in certain instances and only in the first couple of years of getting the operation really happening. After that, you shouldn't need, there's no need to till like that. And in fact, you will only sort of destroy the structure of the soil every time you keep doing that. Yeah, that's why I don't generally recommend green manuring, only in certain situations and with certain people. um, let's see here. The Mick, $20. Thank you very much, my friend. In the Mile High garden, I have lots of wood chips still in the soil from an old Back to Eden garden. Would cover crop or fertility be better for this year? Okay, so I take it you're going to abandon the Back to Eden method then? In that case, well, it depends. You know, it depends on many things. So you could grow a high nitrogen loving cover crop like a legume, like the crimson clover. Well, for you, you would need mammoth red clover because it gets cold where you're at. So like really cold. So you would need the mammoth red clover. And that's going to help, definitely. But probably if it's Back to Eden, okay, Mick says, yes, have been abandoning it for the last 2 years. I would add a bunch of fertility. I would get some chicken manure, super high in nitrogen, and actually mix it all in there. I would kind of mix it in there, probably. I mean, I'd have to see it. And then just let it decompose. Okay, I did the fertility last year. So then try cover crop. I mean, but don't do a winter rye. Don't do a winter wheat. Don't do one of the grasses. Because you want to do one of the clovers. So do the mammoth red clover because the Back to Eden method, you know, my experiences with it, and maybe when we get the land and stuff, we will try. I mean, we will try. We will have direct experiments where we will do all of this. Okay, good. Send me a picture on Instagram of that, of what you're talking about. We'll do direct side-by-side experiment. We'll have a Back to Eden plot and all of that kind of stuff. But so far, in the past handful of years, my experience with Back to Eden is that there's just not enough nutrients. It just doesn't provide that rich source of nutrients like the other stuff. If you guys watch my electroculture video, the results video, it's kind of like a garden tour as well. And you will see that everything is just bursting with life and everything is huge and luscious and getting boatloads of harvest from everything. And look at these. And that is with the combination of cover cropping and fertility adding. And so in the Back to Eden plots, I have 2 of them, and they just don't really, the plants just don't really, you know, it's like they're lacking. And so I'm not that into it. Stone Mason, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, hey, bro, great videos. I have been doing K&F in Auburn, Indiana for about 4 years. Thanks for the videos. All right. Not far from me then. Very nice. KNF. Yes, Korean natural farming. And let's see. Aviator says, beautiful fermentation. Ah, yes, guys, it is time. It is time to ferment the tomatoes. And these are the purple bumblebees. And it's almost like they are designed for fermentation. They're really designed for anything. They are so delicious. The people that I've introduced them to really like them. And my uncle in particular says that they are his favorite of all tomatoes ever. And he's very experienced over the years with tomatoes. And so that's saying a lot. And a lot of other people have said the same thing. The purple bumblebee from Baker Creek, it's actually from Artisan Seeds. They're the breeder, but Baker Creek is the one where I get them. And the purple bumblebee remains solid on the vine for a long time. It's as opposed to like the Cherokee purple, which if you miss it by like 1 day, it falls off the vine or it splits open or they're real delicate. The Cherokee purple plants are kind of delicate, but they're so worth it. But the purple bumblebee will just remain. It's like maybe 1 or 2 of them will split, but hardly anything splits, hardly anything falls off. They just remain there for a long time. So they're perfect for market gardening or for our using. If you want to let them sit on the countertop for a week, they're still good. I mean, it's incredible. But if you want to ferment them, guys, that's what needs to happen. So watch my fermentation video and get the ferment happening. They store all winter long, just like this, out at room temperature, and they are amazing. Literally every single person that's tried it has been like, Nate, I can't believe I didn't know about this. So let's see here. Someone said, excellent question, Lisa. Oh, $5. Thank you very much, Lisa. Lisa T says, can I cover crop in existing lawn turf? I am thinking about using my garden fork to loosen the soil, then sow red clover, turnips, and buckwheat. Well, I mean, that depends. So I don't know like what zone you're in, what growing, the grass grass is way more powerful than any of the plants that we grow. As far as you're not going to plant something into grass, really establish grass and have it overtake the grass. It just doesn't really work like that. It will you'll be struggling. I mean, you'll have some success, yeah, but you need to come up with a way to eliminate the grass first. And I don't know where you're at or what the zone is like, but what would be ideal is to pile up leaves or brush or cardboard, whatever it is, and have a quick fire. And that's the way to do it. I made a video last year how to prepare the land for next year. And so just take deciduous leaves, rake them into a pile in the shape of the garden that you want, and light it on fire. And just let it burn, and it will totally eliminate the grass. And the ashes will fertilize the soil. And then you can plant your cover crop into that a couple days later, or you can put more leaves on top of it, or manure and then leaves on top of it. See? But if you just try to plant something into already established grass, even if you're flipping it over a little bit with a garden fork, it's gonna struggle. It's just gonna struggle big time. It'll still work though, but. And Lehar Vigal says, hit the like button, Vikings. Yes, hit the like button. 193 viewers and 78 thumbs up. Guys, if you ain't thumbsing up in this, then what are you doing? So that guy Chris says, question, do you think properly processed Humanure benefits outweigh the risks of PFAS, hormones, and antibiotics, virals? Well, consult your doctor. This is not legal advice, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. But personally, I would say that it depends on the diet of the person, really. Because so much of if somebody's if you're on this channel, you're probably not the standard American diet. But if they're on the SAD, then they are consuming loads of toxic chemicals that do not break down because the body has not evolved or adapted to handle these kind of chemicals. And so they will pass right through you. And that many of them are definitely designed to kill microorganisms, designed to just do all kinds of bizarre stuff. Preservatives and things like that, flavor enhancers, all that kind of stuff. And so much of it comes out. But if you have a pretty clean diet, like my own, I would be 100% confident to, I have no concern whatsoever because I know the source, and Humanure is very useful. And for thousands of years, it has been used, guys. Don't let anyone trick you into thinking that, oh, that's a disgusting, a salmonella, an E. coli, and all this blah, blah, blah. No, if it's done properly, guys, our ancestors did this for thousands of years. And it works really well. How do you think they eliminate? I mean, they had to deal with waste, with human waste, and they didn't waste it. They didn't just, so they understood that this is all valuable. Because everything is a cycle. And so they understood, okay, so the nutrients, and they go back into the earth, boom, and back into the earth, like this. Just like the tree. The roots, think of a cross-section of a tree, a cutaway of a tree, and here's the earth. And below is the roots, and above is the branches, like this. And the roots are pulling up nutrients and vital energies and life force, storing them in the plant tissue and the leaves, and then at the end of the season or whenever, the leaves fall to the ground and they decompose and the minerals go into the ground. The roots take up the minerals again and store them, boom, like this. And you see, boom, boom. You see the shape of this? It's a toroidal energy sphere. It's the way that energy works in the universe. And so this is foundational to understand and observe these principles. And so our ancestors knew intuitively all of these kind of things. And so they understood, okay, well, so we need to return it to the earth. And so I hope that answers the question. So let us see here. That guy Chris says, thank you, sir. You confirmed my thoughts. Thanks for expanding on it for your viewers. Yes, definitely. RK says, so don't let it ferment in room temp for so long. What are you talking about? If you're talking about these, they just ferment indefinitely. And Aviator Dave says, that's why I check the pH before I will consume the fermented food. Okay, if that's what does it for you. I've never done that, never had to do that. pH, well, don't get me started on the pH kick. Not right now. So let us see here. There was another question. Spinster Mountain. Wow, this is my new favorite channel. Just learning how to garden, to grow food in my northern Arizona homestead. So glad to find you. Hey, I'm happy you are here, my friend. Let us know if you have questions. Watch all the old videos. All the knowledge is still relevant. All the videos are still relevant. So, I mean, 100% still, everything still works. So, because there's a thing in YouTube, you know, where people think that like a video that was made a year ago is somehow less relevant than one that is made like right now. But with this kind of topics, that's not true. So it's very relevant. And even if I make a video about the same thing, it's different. You know, there's different amounts of knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah. Stonemason, another $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, do you know anyone doing no-smell living floors in our area? Pigs, chicken, cows, horses. Currently, I do not. No. This kind of stuff around here is not like where it's at. I mean, this is not, people are not trying to innovate and be, you know, not on any kind of scale and stuff like that. But I assure you, when I get the land, I will absolutely be utilizing this, the labs and all of this kind of stuff. So, yes. But no, I do not currently know anyone. But if I do, I will let you know. TC, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, thank you for the knowledge, Nate. I hope those berry bushes are growing well. We will see, my friend. We will see. I planted so many of them, so we will see what takes. Now, I'm getting the feeling that they have to be in dormancy. Someone has told me that they have to be in dormancy before you can cut them and root them like that, or before that will work. But we'll see. We'll see, because they're definitely not rooting like plants are. You know, the leaves have fallen off and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll just see. But man, super appreciate your efforts and so hopefully, I really hope a couple of those hackberries or what were they? Haskberries. I hope that those take big time. And let's see here. Graham, what's up, my friend? Yeah, I think it's different. He says 23 likes and over 200 watching. Not good. Yeah, it's I think it's strange. It kind of lags behind for certain people. Here it shows 119 likes. So yes. And so guys, well, let's see, Deanna K. Which one of the fertilizers from your channel is best to apply to the garden when closing it up for the winter? When closing it up for the winter is when you want to apply the base fertilizer. This is super important, guys, as we're coming into the fall season. I know it's crazy. September already. Where did the season even go? But the fall time is coming. And so when we observe nature, which is what we always do to get our answers and to see where to go and how to do it, we observe nature. And so nature in the fall time or at the end of the season will drop things onto the ground. Or even if you're in the tropics, it will just drop things onto the ground. And then they will decompose over the winter time so that in the springtime, new growth is happening. And so that is what we mimic when we think about fertilizing the garden. So there's the base fertilizer, but then there is the additional fertilizers. The additional fertilizers are like the liquid, any of the liquid fertilizers, the JDOM, JLFs, and the fish fertilizer. That's all additional fertilizer. But the base fertilizer is what you put into the soil. And this is actually more important than anything else. If you put the right stuff into the soil, there's no need for additional fertilizers. There really isn't. But most people are far from there. So to get you, so the in the fall time, the best thing to do is if you can get some manures, then you want to apply them in the fall. Chicken manure, cow manure, horse manure. If you can source it right, I almost am just gonna stop recommending horse manures because it's so prevalent now, the grazon, and it's just so unfortunate. So, but if you know for sure the source of the hay that is being fed to the horses or the cows or whatever, if you know that it's not being sprayed with a broadleaf herbicide or something to graze on, then yes, you can use it. But chicken manure is almost guaranteed to be free from any of that, especially if they use wood chips for the bedding. So you can utilize that. So you put that on the base. That's what you put on the base. And then that will break down over the wintertime. And then that's going to be really beneficial come springtime. So that's what I would say. Let's see here. Shelly says, the challenge I have with the cover crop in my raised beds is that the plants I am growing are not ready to harvest yet. I am in zone 5B, central Iowa. I'm not sure how to go about this. Yeah, I know. So that's the thing about timing. Is that you have to see in advance, okay, what am I going to plant where? So cover crops, really, we're only going to, if we're terminating naturally, meaning no till, then we are only going to plant a cover crop in the places where we're going to plant heat-loving things next year. You see? Because especially a winter rye or a winter wheat, then we cannot terminate it. It will not terminate before it's ready to be terminated. And so watch my videos about cover cropping to know when that is. But so that's what most people, that's an unfortunate thing for most people, is that they will plant winter rye and then they will come springtime think, oh, I'm just going to terminate it and then plant my peas into there or plant my cabbages in April or something. No, you're not, because you're going to cut the winter rye or winter wheat and it's just going to grow back like grass. You have to wait until the seed head forms and it'll be like 4 feet tall and all of that. So you have to plan ahead. But if you till, then it's different. It's different. If you're green manuring it, it's going to be different. But for you could plant winter rye will sprout way late. I mean, you can plant winter rye even after the frost comes. So long as it gets above freezing during the day, the winter rye is still going to sprout. It's incredibly hardy. So even once you pull them cabbages out and stuff like that, you can plant a winter rye cover crop in Iowa. Yes. But then be prepared that unless you're going to green manure it next year with a tiller and all that, then you will have to wait until it is ready. And that will be about the middle of May, before it's ready to terminate naturally. So you'll have to put your heat loving things in there only. So I saw, let's see here. Let's see. Sharon says, when I was making my tomato sauce, I used a bunch of sun gold tomatoes, and before I started reducing the sauce, it was yellow. Scared me for a second, but in the end, it was a sweet tasting red sauce. Yeah, so if you guys have watched the video I just made about how to do the tomato sauce and stuff, it will start kind of foamy looking and sort of light color, but then it will come to be a nice, dark, rich, delicious sauce. So you don't need to worry about that, my friends. There was I saw someone up here. I wanted to just say hello, but I can't find it now. So many people, which is great. Someone was from Kenya, and I just wanted to say hello. But okay, so let's see. I answered everybody's question. All right, so check out some stuff here, guys. That here is how you want to store your garlic. Okay, so all of you, I've gotten several questions about this, but the garlic is, so once it's done drying like this, okay, then you'll cut it off. But you see how I left plenty of the neck? Because if you cut it too close, this is hard neck, but if you cut it too close, then you risk allowing moisture to get in there. So like this, everything is nice and sealed up. It's like in its own package. And also, we cut the roots like this, because if you don't cut the roots, and I found this, then if the roots are like this long, they will be seeking out any kind of moisture. And so if they get moist or something like that in storage, it's going to induce it to break dormancy, potentially. So I found the best thing to just cut it, and you can leave some of the soil on it. You know, you don't have to take all the, definitely only if the husks like easily fall off. You just go whoosh, whoosh, like that. And then they're good. And they will store like this all winter long, pretty much until spring. Until early spring, until February at least, they will store. And that's when they break dormancy outside anyways. So, yes. And this is how you store onions, all right? This is how you store onions. And so, again, we leave so much of the neck so we don't cut it super close like they might in the store. You want to cut it here, and then you cut the roots off. And this is going to store all winter, and it's going to be nice and solid, full of sulfuric compounds. Sharon says, I decided I'm not closing up my garden this year. Okay, we'll see. See how it goes. Maggie Smith says, I'm dehydrating my Sun Gold right now to put in olive oil, using the big ones for sauce. Oh yeah, dehydrate and put them in olive oil. Yes. Esmas, hello my friend, says, did 5 quarts and 21 pints of sauce already. All right. Elizabeth Hendricks, hello my friend, says, Nate, do you do anything with your green tomatoes? Not really. No, I've fried them up a couple of times. Not really that into it, you know. I think fried green tomatoes, you know, are one of those foods that came about out of necessity back in the day. You know, like, okay, well, we're hungry and there's nothing else to eat really, but we got a bunch of these tomatoes, but none of them are ripe. So how can we eat them? And so they figured out a way to eat the tomatoes unripe. And so that's really what I think it. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's good. It's pretty good, but yeah. So I don't really, you know, it's kind of like a crawfish boil. You know, I was down in Arkansas with Stale Cracker several months ago when I was doing the Move to Preserve for the alligator snapping turtles. And I was also with Greg Whitstock, the pond guy, of course. Yes, living the aquascapes lifestyle. But Stale Cracker was down there doing a crawfish boil, and we were eating them and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is cool, and all that. And especially if it's your culture and your heritage and all of that, brings back good memories and of all that stuff. But definitely, there's no doubt that is like food people were eating because there was no other food to eat. Definitely. Not because, oh, it's so delicious and stuff. I mean, that's just my opinion, you know, as an outsider on the culture. But another local gardener told me she has had success with wrapping green tomatoes in newspaper to ripen. Val. Yes, Val. Yes. So if you guys are talking about at the end of the season, the green tomatoes, definitely. Yeah, I should have said that. I just pick them and bring them inside. They will ripen over the next several weeks. So right about frost time, then you can just pluck them and put them into the basement. I put them with everything else, and they will ripen. They will ripen. Sometimes they'll take like a month to ripen, which is fine. So, yeah. Stone Creek says, I terminated my winter wheat last year on Nate's guidance. Okay, good. And hopefully that worked out for you, I'm sure. Mad Dog says, when is cover crop time? Denver, Colorado, Zone 5B. It can be any time now. So if you have things out of the ground, if you've harvested or if things are looking sickly and stuff, then you can plant it now. So especially if you're planting one of the clovers, if you're going to plant red clover, because you would want red clover probably. I mean, crimson clover is a really good one. I love it just because of what it does to the soil, how it grows, how beautiful it is. The pollinators love it. But if it gets much below -10 Fahrenheit, then it can kill it. So that's why here we're like right on the line of being able to grow it. But the past handful of years, we've been able to grow it, no problem. But if you want to be sure, mammoth red clover, that is not terminating. So it can go to like -30 or something. So, but the clovers you will want to plant sooner than later. The rye, winter rye or the winter wheat, you can plant super late. You can plant even after the first frost comes. But the sooner you plant it, the more established it's going to be. Okay, the more established it's going to be, and the more roots it's going to have in the soil, feeding the life in the soil. Because remember, guys, when the winter rye is only like this tall, its roots are like 3 times the size of the plant. They're just huge, fibrous root system down there. And so you want it to be as big as possible. So right now, anytime within the next month is the ideal time to plant it. The sooner the better. Sandy Nesta says, looking good, Nate. Thank you, Sandy. Feeling good. And let's see. Let's see here. Maybe fried. Ooh, John Jude says maybe fried apples, as I learned in Kentucky. Fried apples? What? Grant says, what should I do with thick deciduous leaf mulch at the end of growing season? Some beds I will cover crop. So assume I remove and compost, or should I put compost on top and then cover crop over top? You can do that. So watch the video that I made last year about this time. It was a little bit later, where I forget what the title of it is, but the thumbnail looks kind of like a grave. It looks like a square grave. But in there, I show you what I do. So for the tomatoes last year, at the end of the season, I lawn mowed the tomatoes. I just put all the other tomatoes on there and lawn mowed them. And then I put some horse manure over that. And then I put a little bit of leaf mold on top of that. And then I did a winter rye cover crop. And it sprouted, and they got about this long all winter long, and it held together all those nutrients. And it helped everything to break down, so that come the middle of May, it was like 4 feet tall, and I just terminated it and then planted the tomatoes right into that. Yes, and it worked really well. So it depends how broken down the leaves are. But I mean, if they're totally not broke down at all, then it might be difficult. But I would just plant on top. If you're going to plant a cover crop, especially one of the ryes or winter wheats, I would plant on top of the leaf mold. Yes. VA Green says, fried apples are excellent, but lots of sugar. Okay, and there we go. See, now it all comes out. You got to use sugar. Brian, what's up, my friend? He says, changing the garden design, all the new knowledge that has come into my life over the last year. Thank you, my Viking friend. You are very welcome, Brian. And yes, it will continue to change and evolve and adapt. And that is part of the like a Viking. Like I said in the beginning, the Viking spirit is a master of adaptation. And so you will utilize what information and what technologies are available to you that makes sense with your mind and your common sense. You run it through your filter of common sense. Okay, does what he's saying make sense? Does it feel right? And if it does, then yes, I'm going to do it. Do I have a gut feeling to do it and to experiment with these methods? Yes. Okay, good. Then do it, because then you will know. Because remember, information only becomes knowledge once it's been put through the catalyst of experience. I made that up. I mean, that's my saying. But that is so true, though. It's so true. Information does not equal knowledge. It doesn't mean that, oh, because I read a book or because I saw something, now I have knowledge. No, you have information, but I would recommend to do it. Put it into, put it into experience. I'm not talking about you in particular. I'm just saying anybody, So, yes. Yes, then it's called wisdom. Correct. When PM, then it's called wisdom. NZ says, love you. Thank you for all your knowledge. You're very welcome, my friend. When PM says, I know maple syrup is a sugar substitute. Yes. I mean, it still very much has sugar in it, but it's a really good natural form of sugar. And so it is easy for the body to assimilate, but not too fast, like the white crystalline powder type of sugar. That type of sugar, super refined sugar, is like a drug. It's a white crystalline powder, and it functions in the body like such. So maple syrup is a very natural form of sugar, and so it's easy for the body to digest. And the minerals in it and the certain chains of glucose, the certain types of sugars, allow it to be very beneficial to the body instead of detrimental like the other sugars. So let me show you a couple things else, guys. When you grow potatoes, okay, remember, you can let the plants die totally. There's no time when you have to harvest potatoes until the frost comes, okay? That guy Chris says, Nate's talking about a white powdery drug. Wait, what? Yeah, sugar. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Table sugar. And, well, never mind. So the potato, you can wait until the potato dies back completely. You don't need to harvest it. That's what most people are under the illusion that they have to harvest the potato once the plant starts to look bad. You don't. So you can just leave it in the ground, let the vines die completely back until they're brown and crispy and blow away in the wind, and the potatoes will still be down there. Now, the only thing is that if they freeze, they're done. They're dead. So you have to get them before the hard freeze comes. But I just leave them in the ground. Because once you start pulling from them, once you pull them out of the ground, the clock starts ticking on when they're going to break dormancy. So you want to leave them in the ground as long as possible. All right. So, and then when you do dig it up, you just let it air dry in the shade for a few days with the soil on it. Remember, they need the soil still. There's microorganisms, a relationship. So, they use all kinds of cues. There's incredible intelligence in this. I know it doesn't seem like that, but if you look deeply, you can see immense intelligence, a form of intelligence that the plant uses all different kinds of cues to know when to break dormancy, because this here is a battery. This is a perfect evolutionary storehouse of solar energy. The plant captures the energy from the sun and combines all of the elements, the air, the earth, the nutrients, the soil, to create this, which is essentially a storehouse of solar energy, so that the plant will die back, but next year, then it will say, okay, now is the time. And it will break dormancy and begin new plants. It will grow, sprout out new plants to start capturing more sunlight, and then it will grow more of these potatoes. Do you see? I mean, that's almost, it's just mind-boggling to even think that kind of intelligence, what that's capable of doing. We can't make anything that replicates like that does. Even our finest technologies can never replicate this in this way. And so it's really magnificent. And they use all different kinds of things. When you research and you look deeply into it, and you can see that they use all different kinds of cues, not just the temperature and humidity, although that's big ones, but they also use the relationship with microorganisms. So you have to trick the potato to think that it's still underground. That's the key. Trick the potato to thinking that it's still underground by giving it the conditions that it would experience underground. So in the low 50s, temperature Fahrenheit, with moderate humidity, with soil microorganisms still crawling all over it. That's the soil. That's why we don't rinse them. and no light, all of those factors, and you will have these potatoes rock solid until springtime. I mean, I have potatoes all winter long. It's incredible. And you don't do anything really special. You just mimic the conditions that it would experience underground. So, some people think, oh, it's just a potato. No, man, it's like a magic trick. It's like unbelievable technology it's the universe's technology. It's all on how you look at it, as is everything, of course, but you already know this. So, Aviator Dave says, research about the family that was killed by potatoes except for one little young girl. Ooh, we don't know about that. Although we do know that potatoes contain everything necessary for life for some time. You can survive a long time just eating potatoes. There's very few other plants that can do that for the human system. Beets can't do that. Peas can't do that. Potatoes can do that. They have all the stuff that you need. So that's why they are the staple. When I write the book and stuff, it's just going to be awesome. Guys, you guys are going to love it because I'm distilling all the knowledge even more. And so, but potatoes are going to be front and center, guys, because you need the calorie crops. How many people do you know that have a garden and they go, oh yeah, look at my garden. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, this is cool. Okay. You've got a pretty good sized garden. But I see like 6 different kinds of lettuce, some kale, some spinach, some more lettuce, and then some arugula, and then 5 more different kinds of lettuce. And I'm like, okay, but where's the food? Where's the calories? All that leafy greens, that's great. You need that. I got bunches of it. No problem. The body thrives on that. But that's not going to sustain you. You have to get the calories. So when you're thinking with Viking type gardening, this is sustenance gardening. So you grow the calories first. And the number one thing is going to be these potatoes. And guys, potatoes that you grow yourself are so much better than the store because they're so full of nutrients. If your soil's on point, they're full of nutrients and they're so starchy and buttery soft. Just delicious. Potatoes get a bad rap because of fast food, what fast food has done to it, and French fries and all that bizarre, alien food. But this kind of stuff, very good for the body. Another thing that we will be is these, guys. Super important, okay? These will store all winter long. And I have one still from last year. And it's got some wrinkles on it. I was going to bring it to you, but I actually put it in the compost bin a couple of days ago because the new ones are starting to come in. And guys, to answer the question, okay, think of this. This is to answer the question, do squash plants cross-pollinate? I used to think no, but now I think yes, because my experience is telling me that they do. Because after several years of growing the Tahitian melon squash in proximity to butternut squash and 1 year in proximity to honey nut squash, all of the same family, the same house even, just different genetics slightly, I think that they've crossed. Because now I grew some Tahitian melon squash from saved seeds now for this might be the 4th, 5th year on this seed variety of saving seeds and stuff. And now they've clearly crossed because this is nowhere near the size of a Tahitian melon squash. The first year, they were like this big around, double and like this big, massive, 30 pounds, some of them. But they've progressively gotten a little bit smaller, but the plants are still super prolific. There's like 30 of them, off of one plant, 1 or 2 plants. And so they're crossing a little bit with the butternuts, I'm pretty sure. And maybe even with the honey nuts, because I then grew one butternut plant out of the compost bin. You saw in the video of my electroculture results video, you saw I was growing the one butternut plant out of the compost bin. And those have taken on characteristics of the Tahitian squash, definitely. They're mammoth. They're like this thick around. They're unbelievable looking. And so they're definitely crossing. But is this Is this a problem? No, not at all. So, because unless you specifically require the characteristics of those genetics, it doesn't really matter if they cross, because the plant this year at the watermelon patch, we planted like 1 or 2 of these plants. They're unbelievably productive. I mean, they were huge. They overtook all the watermelons, overtook everything, to the point we shouldn't even have put it there. And they produced like 30 of these things. Okay. So the plant is very healthy, very productive. And I can tell that it has become more adapted to this area. And so, so that's not really a bad thing. Okay. It's just different. But yes, the Tahitian melon squash is what I was talking about originally. This, so I also grew butternut squashes, but I think they've sort of crossed a little bit. This is still what I'm calling Tahitian melon squash though. So, and there are some bigger ones, but yes. So that's my rant about that. And the squash, either butternut or Tahitian or whatever. Maybe we'll call this Indiana squash now because it's been like naturalized. Then this is going to store all winter long. Not this one, because I'm going to eat this one. So I didn't have a knife with me. I didn't cut it off properly. You never want to do that. If you're going to store them, you never want to tear it off there. You want to leave all of the stalk with it, okay? Or all of the stem. You have to leave that because this is not going to store nearly as long. See, it's already starting to weep, you see? So, but this I'm going to eat, no doubt, within the next few days or week or whatever. And I'm probably going to make it like that video you guys saw where it says grilling the garden. I'm probably going to make it in the same way because I do it in so many different ways. But you can just slice these into thin steaks and grill them on super high heat over the grill like that. Very delicious, guys. And these are going to stay good pretty much all winter, just sitting out on the basement. So look right here. We've got potatoes that are loaded with calories, vitamins, and minerals, and they're going to last pretty much all winter long. We've got this squash, butternut type squash, Tahitian squash, that is loaded with vitamins and minerals, going to last all winter long. Okay, just sitting out on the shelf in the same place, kind of where these are. We'll put these there as well. Then we got this garlic that's going to store in the same place all winter long. It's going to stay good, loaded with phytonutrients, small different kinds of nutrients, not the macronutrients like the potato and the squash. Those are full of like calories and different kinds of vitamins and minerals. These have vitamins and minerals, but also phytonutrients, real tiny little things, compounds like allicin that are very beneficial to the body and to life, but that don't appear on the nutrition facts of a product. You know what I mean? So things and that's why we call them phytonutrients, things we need in real tiny amounts, but these have it, and they'll store all winter long. These store all winter long in the same place. So you see all these things that we have already, and then we've canned the tomatoes, and so this stuff is going to be super delicious. This one I didn't reduce very much. This is just tomatoes and salt. This one is tomatoes, garlic, and salt, and it's way thicker. I let it get more thick. This is for when I do like baked beans, like English type beans, I use this stuff. So good. And then we have these type of fermented tomatoes, just shelf stable all winter long, right out on the shelf, and loaded with phytonutrients and all kinds of stuff. So do you see all those things that I just showed you? All of those things are, we grew ourselves, loaded with nutrients, and without refrigeration. Nothing that you saw there needs refrigeration. So this is what we have to, think and do more like this. Muddy Paws says, gotta know what to do with all the growing goodness. Yes, this is true. And this is why I've been recording several cooking videos to release probably over the winter. Because, so to get you guys, because so many people are telling me that they love growing, but they don't really know they're like, but I don't really know what to do with it at that point. Or my family doesn't like it, so I give it away to friends. And I'm like, guys, cooking is the other part of it. I mean, cooking is fantastic. So you have to know how to eat it, consume it. Yes? So... Let's see here. Pam says, I love potatoes and sweet potatoes. Oh, yes, guys, the sweet potatoes are almost ready to harvest. Well, it'll still be several weeks before they need harvest. But I think they're going to do really well this year. Really well. What do you guys think? Ground cherries. Look at this. The ground cherries, guys, are super delicious. Yes. These are, see how they just come out of the husk like that? They'll sit like this for days and days until you want to eat them. Very good. Every one is kind of different. Whoa. That one was as sweet as candy, like a raisin. Very good. But they will just sit in this husk. And here's a pro tip, actually. What I realized this year with the ground cherries is that because my ground cherries were, I didn't make the right trellis system or any trellis system at all. So it wasn't the best use of space for my garden back here. And so I actually just pulled them up like a week and a half ago and replanted shijimisa, the Asian green that is very cold tolerant. And so, because I'll be having that in stir fries all like into winter. So I pulled these plants up and they were loaded with tons of green, unripe ground cherries that were really sour. So I just threw the whole plant down for a while. And then 6 days later, I came back and saw that every one of those ground cherries were now perfectly ripe and super delicious. So there's a pro tip, guys. You can, if you have like your ground cherry plants, you can pull the whole thing up and put it down on the ground, and then it will ripen. These will ripen. And so super delicious. You see how they just come out? It's one of the few annuals that you can grow that are like a berry. These are sweet like a berry when the time is right. So, and they're like an annual. They're in the same family as tomatoes and tomatillos. So you grow them from seed, and in 1 year, you've got these. You don't have to wait for 2 and 3 years for the berry bushes to grow and all that stuff. So, yeah. Let's see here. Just me, who are you? $50. Thank you very much, my friend. Says Natalie says hi. Oh, hello, Natalie. Good to virtually see you guys. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that the garden is still growing, everything, because I've been watching the weather, so I hope that everything's good there. I know you guys are growing up quick, so I hope you had a good time in the garden. I hope that you got some corn and some beans, and maybe you can send me some pictures of the Tahitian squash patch, and just update me with pictures, please, of the garden. So, and then we got to talk about when we're coming down, because I definitely want to see you guys. So Sandy says $50 holla. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Elizabeth Hendricks, yum. I am so growing those husk cherries. Yes. Ground cherries, I think is, well, that's what one thing they're called. Also Cape gooseberries. We don't really call them that here. I think it's more of a South Africa thing that they call them that. But, yeah. But the thing is, you got to wait till they're ripe. They're a late summer thing. You'll get some in the early summer, and they taste almost savory. They taste kind of strange. But if you have to wait until right about now. From now until frost, they really start producing these super sweet little things. Okay, DLR says, I've also seen them called pineapple tomatillo. That would make sense because they taste kind of like pineapples. Queen RB says, butternuts and Tahitians are both Cucurbita moschata. Yes, this is true. And this is why they kind of cross. But, you know, that's not a bad thing. Where it is a bad thing, though, for me, is in the peppers. Because I grow peppers specifically for a purpose. And like poblanos, and I specifically want that flavor because I roast them and then I smoke them on the smoker and then dehydrate them into the powder. But then I also grow like a sweet one, like the Ivarsky pepper or the Hungarian paprika, these kind, that I want them specifically for that flavor. And so because in years past, man, when I've saved seeds from peppers, they just turn out to taste like nothing. They just, because they cross with all the other ones so easily. So peppers, you get new every year. At least I do. Unless you only grow one type of, unless you only grow one type. Let us see here. Tammy says, Nate, can you please give me tips on long-term storage for potato, onion, squash? I never get mine to store well. I put in a cool, dark basement, but ... Well, I think I did. Just give a bunch of tips for one. But for two, what I think maybe your issue is, because if all the conditions are right, you want to get it as close to being underground as possible. So dark, of course, and somewhat humid. Not humid, but 50%, give or take. But then also cool. You want it to be as cool as possible. In the 40s would be ideal. Like root cellar type is ideal. But 50s, 60s can even work. But the thing, if all of those factors are right, then what is probably happening is in the growing and the harvesting. So you want to make sure that they got their full life cycle, so that they're healthy all the way through their life cycle, that they got all the nutrients that they need. And then you want to harvest them at the right time and cure them in the right way. So the summers or the winter squash, if you once you harvest them, you need to just let them roast out in the sun for like a week, and you turn them every day, and that will make that skin hard. So that's really what you want, and that's going to allow them to store all winter long. If you don't do that, they're not going to store as long. So yes. And the onions, you got to harvest them at the right time. Don't wait. Everyone says you got to wait until they're falling over and stuff. Not necessarily. If you watch the short that I made that got like millions of views already somehow about using the board method, which next year I will show you guys the board method. It's the only way that I'm planting these onions from now on, for sure. But what was I going to say about that? Yeah, most people say you have to wait until they fall over and stuff, and that's fine, and you can, yes. But these ones were so vigorously growing that they weren't falling over. They were actually starting to put out seed heads. Even though they're a biennial, they were starting to put out flower stalks. And as soon as I saw that, boom, you take it. And so that's what I did. And so these are going to store a long time. Also, you got to choose the right varieties. So that's a huge thing about storage. Yukon Golds store a long time. So do Kennebec. So do Ketadine. So do German Butterballs. Those are very good storage potatoes. The red potatoes and different kinds of fingerling potatoes, and those don't store nearly as long. So, and the other kinds of squash, spaghetti squash and acorn squash, don't store nearly as long as these butternuts. And onions, the sweeter the onion is, the less amount of time it stores. So the Vidalia or the Texas Grand Sweets, any of the sweeter onions, they don't store nearly as long. If you want storage onions, you got to get them as pungent as possible, like New York Early. That's a good classic one. Very pungent, stores all winter long. These are Yellow of Parma. This is my first year growing these, so I don't know for a fact that they store really well, but all the reviews that I've saw on them and all the people telling me about them say that they store all winter. And they're so pungent, I can just tell that they're going to store. I can just tell. So, yeah, see, that guy Chris says, my Dark Norland red potatoes don't store well, so I have to grow in 2 seasons in a single year. Correct. Yeah, the red ones just don't really store that well. Just Me says, I think the pumpkin is ready to harvest. A couple have over-ripened. We roasted seeds last night. Okay. They shouldn't over-ripen, really, though. They shouldn't even be able to. So they, something happened. Something would be off. But good. Unless you planted like pumpkins of some other variety. But those square slate-colored ones that we planted, the Jarradale, those store a long time. Those store longer than any other squash I've seen. The Jarradales do. But they're too big, they're huge. So unless you got like a family that's going to be eating a bunch of stuff, you know, you got to eat them all at once. That's what I love about the Tahitian melon squash is that, so like if we want for dinner just some mashed, you know, we want to mash it with maple syrup and butter or something and some cinnamon, then we'll just take some of the neck and we can leave the rest and it will store for another week or so, you know, a couple weeks even. That's one of the beautiful things about this. Maxie says, you forgot to make that video on how to sprout mung beans. That's right. I totally forgot about that. We are approaching time when that's going to be relevant. So yeah, thank you. I will that'll be in the works. We're still not there yet because it's still growing season, but yeah, we will do that definitely. Because I'll show you guys a method of sprouting mung beans that gives you those classic, thick, crisp, sweet, crunchy bean stalks. Not most people when they sprout mung beans at home, they just have just little tails on it and they're real fibrous and they're good, but they're not like those. If you go to if you go to Asia, if you live in Asia, in Thailand or something like I did, then you will experience bean sprouts on a whole different level. Some of them, if they're done right, are just so delicious, almost like sweet corn kernels they taste like. But you got to grow them in a certain way. So I will show you guys that way this winter. Hello, Masabi says, just got my computer unfrozen so I can say hi from northern Minnesota. Very hot here. 88 degrees. Been fermenting tomatoes, cukes, etc. Good to hear. Yeah, it's pretty hot here too. You know, about the same temp. And that's hot for us. Let's see. Kenny Green says, Nate, what's the best way to kill grass to prep soil for starting a garden? Cardboard? ? No, the best way of all is the slash and burn technique because it fertilizes the land as well and it totally eliminates the grass. So I would say, I mean, cardboard's a good way as well, but it depends. If you have the capability to watch the video I made, Ancient No-Till Method, and that's really ideal, is to pile up the matter and burn it. And let's see. So another thing that I'm going to do is, or another thing that I've been experimenting. I used to play around with this several years ago, but I've gotten so many questions and requests from you guys that I started it up again. So I went ahead and got some water kefir grains. Okay, I just got them a couple like yesterday, so I'm invigorating them. And we're going to be making loads of the water kefir, and so eventually there will be another video coming on that, I'm sure. But I'm just I don't know what you call them, reawakening them. So we'll experiment around with this, different second ferments and stuff like that. But we're also going to experiment with utilizing it on plants because I get that question all the time from you guys. We also got milk kefir. And I'm reawakening the milk kefir grains as well. Although all I ever use is raw milk, so the cream is sort of separating. So I had to eat the cream off this. Oh, it's so good. Oh my goodness. So we got the milk kefir grains in here. And I get a question from you guys all the time on the labs can I use the liquid from my kefir for the plants? Now, I know this. Biologically, it is not the same strains of bacteria, not even close. Very different strains of bacteria. So that I know for sure. But what I don't know is if the whey type stuff that can be produced from this is how it's going to affect the plants or the soil. So I'm going to experiment with that for you guys. I mean, just for knowledge, so that we'll know. I don't think that it will. I mean, if you watch my last video about the labs, it doesn't get any easier than that. I mean, that is the ultimate way in my opinion, is to just use the raw milk. Now, one thing though is that using the raw milk, you're not going to get the same kind of cheese because it hasn't been homogenized. Like I said in the labs video, it hasn't been homogenized, and so you're going to get more like a sour cream. Is more what that will be like. Still super delicious, no doubt, but it's not going to be the same like thick cheese like the other stuff. VA Green says, I see several growers now using raw milk and pouring it directly on their plants and getting good results. Yeah, it can be the same thing. It can be similar thing, except when I've done that, it's you can smell it, and also it can attract. If you have neighborhood dogs or cats or all kinds of stuff, it can really attract those kind of things because there's the milk proteins and the milk fats that are in that still. So why not just let it set out and separate, and then utilize the sour cream and then the milk proteins and the solids and the fats, and then utilize the liquid. And that doesn't attract anything, because in the blazing sun, rancid milk, it just is not, my experience has not been that good with it. So just let it separate, and then you got all the good stuff, and you're not going to be attracting anything, molds or animals or any rats. Oh my God, the rats here are just incredible. So I mean, I have to cage trap them things, and they are just huge and nasty. Although several years ago when I was living in Northern California in the Redwood Mountains, in the Redwoods and stuff, we had their Norwegian wood rats is what they called them. Let me know if you know Norwegian wood rats. And they think there was a lot of old leftover remnants of the logging that took place in that area in the 30s and 40s. 20s, 30s, and 40s. And some of those big, huge logs, 15, 20 feet in diameter, were still there. But there was colonies of wood rats living in them. And these wood rats, from nose to tail, they're like a marsupial of some, I don't even know. There's nothing to compare them to. I never seen them. We don't have them here. But here, these rats are pretty nasty as well. But the Norwegian wood rats are a whole different level, man. I mean, you can shoot them like with a scatter or with a shotgun. So, anyways, and so the guys, super good. If you guys are, because I know the holiday season's coming up, and in America that means that we're looking for gifts for people sometimes. So don't just get stuff. Well, this is just my opinion, but don't just get stuff that someone's not going to use. Get them something they're going to use. If you get them the Skull Crusher, and I'm not sponsored by any of these things, I don't take those kind of sponsorships. So anything that I recommend to you guys is just because I believe in it, and because so I put like an Amazon link, because I'm an Amazon affiliate. So just utilize the link in the description. Gives me a tiny kickback. I appreciate it. But the main thing is I just want to spread the good information, because I'm all about gear. I mean, good quality stuff, not just useless. Over so many years, I had so much useless stuff. That's how I know the good stuff. And this Skull Crusher is the single most useful tool I've ever had, especially when I was living in the mountains. I know it seems awkward, but you could, if I was on a deserted island, I would bring this tool only. It's an axe, but it's also a knife. It's also a draw knife, split firewood, kindling, no problem. The ideal, this thing right here, you can just boom, split the kindling, no problem. And if the zombie apocalypse happened, this would be decent hand to hand. So yeah, link is in the description if you guys want to check out what this is. But man, I have abused this thing over the years. I'm about to get another one just to have another one. But this thing has taken an unbelievable abuse. And I mean, you can pound on it with stuff. So yeah, if you guys live that kind of lifestyle like I used to do, and will of course do again, this is a very wonderful thing to have. Another wonderful thing to have is one of these. And this is the Leatherman OHT. I've had it for many, many years. And why I like it is right here. With one hand, you can pull it out and like that. You can open it with one hand. That's so important. When you're doing something and you need your tool, you're like, oh, it's on your belt, pull it out, boom, like that. I used to have a Leatherman Wave, But I traded it for this because, well, one, I lost the wave. But for two, the one-handedness is huge. And you can pull it out and look, I can flip out the knife, and it's got this. Look, guys, it's got this thing, which might not seem that valuable, but this thing, getting in there, zip ties, guys. If you live a life where you were using zip ties all the time, it gets up under there, just boom, boom, boom. Super easy to remove zip ties or to cut sheets of plastic. I cut miles of plastic. That might be an exaggeration, but almost miles of plastic with this thing. Okay, super useful. So that's the Leatherman OHT. Maybe there's a link in the description to it, but maybe not. I don't even know. But I just want you guys to know that. Okay. So yeah, because you guys know I give the honest reviews about stuff. Those Fisker scissors, don't even get me started on that stuff. Ridiculous joke. I want to talk to the board of whoever designed those things. They were sitting around going, yeah, hey, this is a great idea, guys. Let's market this. And I want to just talk to them and say, guys, before you market something for gardeners, why don't you garden? Or why don't you do something that would use this tool and instantaneously show you that it's garbage? So anyways, yeah, see all you guys saying zip ties. I love zip ties. Zip tie mechanic. Dude, zip ties are super useful. Some people that don't have exposure with them don't understand how incredibly useful they are. And but that's why you got to have the zip tie cutter. So you just one-handed, boom, just like that, boom, chink, 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 go all down. Super cool. Yes, Jenny says the Skull Crusher is awesome. I actually went to that website and discovered that I'd have to save up to buy that awesome blade. Yeah, oh yeah, it's not cheap, but the good stuff is not cheap, of course. But I can just give you the testament. It's been put to the test, and I lost it for 2 years. It was buried under the ground for 2 years. That's why it's got some of that surface rust on it. But thankfully, I found it. When I lost this thing, I went through like a mourning. I went through like a period of mourning where I felt like I lost a member of the tribe in a way. It was just, I was thinking about it all the time and stuff. So yeah. Yes. Taida says, I think I need both in the van. Thanks for the recommendations. Yes. Yes. You got a nice van setup. I saw a picture of that somehow. Was it on your Instagram? Let's see here. Love my Leatherman. Kim says, love my Leatherman. Oh yeah. Brother Beam says, zip tie gang, rise up. Exactly. See, Scarecrow says bamboo and zip ties. Man, I'm so glad to know that you guys love the zip ties like I do. And I get them in like the 10,000 pack. I don't know if it's quite that many, but huge packs, because you can just, every time you go and you have to use them, just put a few in the pocket, because you never know what you need. It's just wonderful. Zip ties and bungee cords. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And duct tape. Gorilla tape, guys. Gorilla tape. Gorilla tape changed the game. As far as duct tape goes and stuff, Gorilla changed the game. It is, yeah, it's like $17 a roll, but it's like its own thing. Hardly even can call it duct tape. Let's see. Lyle Makic says, how do you feel about worm castings versus, say, leaf mold? I get that question a lot. I'm glad you asked, because worm castings are a wonderful source of nutrients and microbiology for the plants and for the soil. So they are very beneficial. They are organic matter passed through the digestive tracts of the worms, which are loaded with all kinds of good, beneficial bacteria and stuff and microorganisms. And so their castings are like a very good, thank you, PA. Their castings are a very good source of nutrients, but they will not replace the leaf mold. And here's why. Because the leaf mold has worm castings in it, lots of worm castings in it, but it is full of the super particular local microorganisms that are available in your area. So if we are making things like the J-Dom, Microbial solution, if we are making things like some compost teas and stuff, we want that local biology. And the leaf, any of the ferments that call for leaf mold, worm castings are not a replacement. They're not a replacement, they're an addition. So worm castings are great to use. I use them in the aerated compost teas, but I also use the local biology. The one doesn't replace the other, but the local biology and the leaf mold can never be replaced. This is what you need, hands down, every time. But what you can also add is the worm castings, especially if you're fortunate enough to have a place that, like a worm farm around you, or if you grow them, if you farm them yourself, that's all really good. But they don't replace leaf mold. So let me, thank you, PA. It says Val says I got a tip up here from the Val. Val, $5. Thank you, my friend. Says, should I have put my mashed potato and sweet dumpling squash in the sun? I thought acorn variety you pick and store, no sun. Okay, should I have put my mashed potato and sweet dumpling squash? What is a mashed potato squash? A mashed potato. Should I put my mashed potato and sweet dumpling squash in the sun? I thought acorn variety you pick and store. They all need to be cured. Any of the winter squashes need to be cured. The summer squashes do not need to be cured. Like these, the summer squash, yes, the one of my uncles is still producing. And this is how I like them. These are the white scallop squash, the Native American variety. Guys, these are so delicious. I have to admit, though, I must confess, I am quite sick of them because I've probably ate 100 of them. No, more than that. Like 200 of them this winter. So I'm a little bit tired of them. But this is how you do it. You eat with the seasons. So these white scallop summer squash are very good to eat. Gorge yourself on them all summer long for the 6 weeks or so that they're in season, 4 to 6 weeks that they're really producing a lot. Yes, these are also called patty pans, but this is in particular white scallop patty pans. Eat them as much as you can because the body can store nutrients for a long time, guys. You don't have to have all the nutrients every day. That's a misconception. So the body can store nutrients. It's meant to eat with the seasons. So you eat these as many as you can, and then when you're like sick of them or the plant stops producing, then you move on to other things. So we've been eating loads of the tomatoes and stuff, but we'll be eating those periodically throughout the winter. But we're going to start eating loads of potatoes and sweet potatoes and winter squash. I will tell you all, we're going to be starting to eat a lot of this stuff, guys. So I've been making stir fries with all different kinds of, I can't wait to show you guys some stir fry videos, man. I'm so into the cooking video idea now, So I really want to expand on that in the future. And let's see, Val says, mashed potato squash is a white variety, supposed to taste just like potatoes. I have never heard of that. That is very interesting. So I don't know. I can't say. Let me know. I don't have any experience with that. But if it's a winter squash meant to store, it needs to be cured. I can't say for 100% though, because I don't know that variety. But any other variety that I know of needs to be. Sandy Nesta says, cannot eat any more watermelons. Nope, not till next year. Wow, you must have had a good season, because here our watermelons aren't even ripe yet. Not even close, really. Because we're almost so far north, we can hardly really grow them that well. Let's see. Stone Creek says, Nate, I saved leek seed heads. They're hanging on the garden fence. Will they work? Zone 6B, when to plant? I don't have a lot of experience with leeks. They're one of the few things that I haven't grown. I don't think I've grown them at all, so I can't say. Somebody asked if I start the onions from seed, and yes, always start them from seed, definitely, because onions are a biennial, and so they will focus on flowering their second year. If you get those tiny little onion sets, they're already in their second year of growth, so typically you'll get a lot of them that just go to flower, or you'll get small little ping pong sized ball onions. If you want the big onions that store all winter long, you got to do it from seed. So watch the video that I made about how to start them from seed. Here we in zone 5/6, we start them about the last week of January. They're one of the few plants that it doesn't matter if you start them too early, because they can go a long time inside because you just keep trimming them back. So, yes. Printer Bear says, Nate, when will you be planting winter rye cover crop? Let's see. That will come in a couple weeks. As stuff is kind of finalizing, you know, if there's a plant there that I think I'm going to grow the cover crop into, and the stuff isn't really doing that well, or I'm sick of it, or it's just not going to be productive, just pull it and put the stuff down. Anytime between now and a week or two after first frost even, you can plant winter rye. Very hardy. But the sooner that you plant it, the better it is, because it'll be more roots in the ground. So, Aviator says, Nate, when I see a milk kefir whey at the bottom of the glass jar, is my indicator to strain or store in the fridge? So you will, again, I'm still new with the kefir, but I'm experimenting like mad, and I'm doing it big time. So I will, I'm not new with the consuming of it. I've been consuming of it for a long time, but I'm now really getting into making it with the raw milk. So, what was the question again? Oh yeah, when I see the milk kefir whey at the bottom of the glass jar, is my indicator to strain or store in the fridge? I think, based upon my understanding of it at this point, I think that's when you have to strain and then create new and store it in the fridge if you want it to thicken up. But all of this is just my reading preliminary knowledge. Soon, at the end of this winter, I'll be an expert on kefir. Well, I don't know about expert, but I will know the answer to pretty much all these questions as far as kefir goes. Water kefir and milk kefir, because I'm going to experiment constantly all winter long. So, Shalma Ahad, good to see you here, my friend. Says, hi, Nate. Another great live. Question, I made comfrey tea last summer in a bucket with a loose cover on top, and now it has turned black. Can I still use it? Yes. Yes, you can still use it. But you probably lost a lot of the liquid and stuff, right? So it's best to have an airtight top. But even if it's turned black, not going to be a problem. Whatever happens in there is not going to be an issue. So it's all going to become plant available in the end. Okay? So, all right, guys. Well, every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern time, we have a live Q&A right here. And every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, we have a live Q&A on my other channel, Thrive Like a Viking, which I just started the channel. And we do like hour-long live Q&A, sort of podcast type, about things about mental and spiritual fortitude and resilience training and stuff like that. It's a lot of good stuff there. So you can check us out there if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And if you guys want to send anything to me, then I recommend you do so. You can do it to the P.O. Box. And I forget exactly the P.O. Box again. But if you can... Wait, I want to get it for you guys. Hold on one second. Okay, if you're interested in sending anything, Garden Like a Viking, P.O. Box 9101, Fort Wayne, Indiana, 46899. I also have this in the About section of the channel so that you can go and see that. But you can send me stuff if you want. And I would highly suggest that you send me, if you have some good strains of garlic, like strains that you know are good or that you want to share or something, then send them to me. Because I've been acquiring some good strains of garlics from people. And it's coming to be time to plant the garlic here in the next couple of months. So yes, you can send me the garlic. That would be great. I would appreciate that. Or whatever else you want as well. So, okay guys, we will see you next time, my friends.